Good morning. I'm Andrew Whaley. I'm coming to you today from the basement of our church. I'm here at the Handprint Wall. Each year, our seniors during senior send-off come down here to the basement to what is now the children's library that's off the hallway between the Fellowship Hall building and the Sanctuary building. And then an annual ceremony, they take time to make a handprint in paint and place it on one of the blocks of the handprint wall and write their name and graduation year on it. I was looking at the wall and I noticed that these handprints go back to the year 2005. So eventually we will get this year's graduates down here to put their handprints on the wall. This is an annual tradition of the youth where we celebrate who we have become as God's people over the years of growing up in this church. It's a way for our seniors to leave their mark on their church. Acts such as the handprint wall come to us, their inspirations from Scripture. You can hear in Isaiah, the 49th chapter, verses 14 through 16, the prophet says, "Sing for joy, O heavens, and exult, O earth. Break forth, O mountains, into singing. For the Lord has comforted his people and will have compassion on his suffering ones." But Zion said, "The Lord has forsaken me. My Lord has forgotten me." Can a woman forget her nursing child, or show no compassion for the child of her womb? Even these may forget, yet I will not forget you. See, I have inscribed you on the palms of my hands. Isaiah tells us that Israel, God's chosen people, they are etched into the very palms of God's hands. This handprint wall communicates that God has been engraven upon the hands of our youth and that God goes with them to whatever comes next after graduation. God's name is written on the palm of their hands, just as our name is written on the palm of God's hands. And I don't know about you, but these past several months while we've been in this COVID season, this time of social distance, we've been thinking a lot more about how we use our hands, right? Washing our hands, touching our face, grabbing door handles, touching the groceries at the grocery store. We've been reticent to give handshakes or to embrace in a hug or to pat somebody on the back. We don't want to spread disease. We've been so much more conscious about how we use our hands. I don't know how much we even think about how we use our hands to communicate, to express how we feel. I do think about that. My father-in-law jokes that if I sat on my hands, I would no longer be able to speak because I use my hands so frequently when I am communicating. But in this time of this pandemic, we're more conscious of how our hands are being used. And if our hands are so intimately connected to who God is, and if God's hands are inscribed with our name, this is a time for us to inspect if our hands are being used for God's purposes in the world. Are our hands reaching out as they're able in love and service and encouragement? Or are we sitting on our hands, paralyzed by the fear of what's outside of our homes? Or do we just keep our hands in our pockets because we're afraid that we might make a fool of ourselves if we stepped out courageously in faith? Now's the time, right? Now's the time. It's this time of focused reflection where we can work on our eye-hand coordination. Where do we see God's call upon us? And how might we reach out with our hands to communicate the love of our God to others? So be encouraged. Your name is written on the palm of God's hands. God's name is etched on the palms of